Well, how convenient as the thunder rumbles above our heads in corporate woods. Want to go through this article here. Kansas City Star releasing this on a Sunday, 2 days before Election Day on the Kansas side of the state line, when many of you hopefully will be going out to vote on city council. And by the way, a lot of these races that have a much bigger impact on your day-to-day life than, what we're going to be voting on November of 24. But anyway, the headline is Johnson County Affordable Housing War about protecting cities or keeping people out. And the case they basically made was that if you are a member of, let's say, Stop Rezoning Prairie Village, a group that's gotten a lot of attention here locally as of late, you're against poor people, you're borderline a racist, and I wanted to go through this and get a response from somebody who's been on this show before. Lori Sharp, supporter of the group, heavily involved with the Stop Rezoning Prairie Village, joins us on KCMO. Good morning, Lori. How are you?
Good morning, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Let's turn on the mic there, gentlemen. That would be great. All right. So let's just start off, Lori, with the piece and what your biggest issue is with the article and the way they portrayed those of you who are against the rezoning of Prairie Village, which the city council is actively trying to do.
Well, thank you for having me. You're right. Myself and the group PV United, we really don't have any control over what the media reports. We've been really focused on what the residents of PV want and listening to them and not the subscribers of any publication. There were several erroneous reporting pieces in there. You mentioned about the mayor's, the individual that's been on his payroll for most of 2023, and the mayor was on the UCS board, which they actually said was housing for all. So it's ironic that his paid political consultant used Prairie Village for all. And I was really offended. She made a lot of outrageous claims of people yelling and racism by the PV residents. And claims like that without any proof are further evidence that it was a weak premise in the article. And I've been to many of those meetings, and there's sometimes 100 to 200 people that are there. And they are passionate, and they are concerned, but their concerns are about the rezoning, about taking away their property rights. They all have worked hard to buy the house they have. It's their single biggest asset. And they want to have their property rights. They want to have their due process. They want to work with their neighbors if there's going to be any zoning changes. They weren't yelling. Like I said, they were passionate, and I certainly did not hear any racism or racist comments. That's just false. It's a false narrative. And I'm actually offended when, the paid consultant and some of the council members, not all, have been saying that on social media and even at the council meetings, because it's just not true. It's labeling, it's name-calling, and it's just not appropriate. They're concerned about the by right, which is developer-friendly, and we're all worried about outside developers just opening up the door for outside developers coming in, kind of like when you have a hailstorm and all these outside roofing companies come in, and they don't do a great job, and then they just leave. You put in by right, and it allows all these outside developers to save money, save time on the process, and then the neighbors and the community don't have a say. Those are the concerns that the people have.
What about the class warfare that is very apparent in the way the Star is trying to write about how, hey, look, the new construction in Prairie Village, it's, $1.5 million. Class warfare, along with racial allegations, which you just addressed, are a big part of the case that they're making here.
That is true. And again, I guess the best word is offensive or frustrating, or it's sad to me that neighbors, my fellow neighbors, would, say that, and that our leaders would insinuate that, because they have the control to control these 1.5, these McMansions they're talking about. In 2016, they addressed it and addressed the R1 height level of different buildings from 35 down to 29. And they haven't done anything since. That was 2016. And I will tell you, probably from getting all my collections from the signatures and walking the houses, I've probably had spoken to and had decent conversations with over 5,000 residents. And that is probably their number one concern is the McMansions. So those have not been addressed by the council, but now they're doing developer-friendly rezoning, and they're talking about McHigh rises.
Now, what about, when you look at the big issue here, first off, Prairie Village is an incredibly dense town. Like, people don't talk about that part of it, right? 23,000 people. It's one of the densest communities, if not the densest in Johnson County.
It absolutely is. Some people, density is actually people per square mile.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have had long-winded responses about what density is, but that's what density is. And if you look at Prairie Village with cities of the first class, which are cities 10,000 and over, so cities our size, we are the densest city in the state of Kansas. Now, if you bring in Roland Park or Miriam, which their populations don't compare to ours, then we fall about third. But as far as cities comparing to our side, we are the most dense city in the state.
So creating more density in the most dense city of the state, I mean, it seems like that would be a reasonable question to bring up, what it does to public services, first responders, schools, things like that. And those are legitimate concerns that I imagine residents are talking to you about. But that doesn't make the cut, it seems like, in the Kansas City Star because that doesn't fit the narrative.
I don't know what to say. People at the door ask me, why are they doing this? What's going on? I wish I knew, to be honest with you. It just seems like it's kind of been a bad idea coming from someone pushing their personal agenda, and that the application with the most dense city of its size in the state, it just doesn't fit. Well, they're not listening to the residents. They're not hearing the residents. They're not representing the residents.
So, Lori, you're on the ballot tomorrow here in the last minute or so, but I know that, Prairie Village could have a much different looking city council. What else is on the ballot tomorrow in terms of what Prairie Village residents will be deciding on and what the movement's going to look like going forward?
Absolutely nothing. We had a young fellow sign up on the very last day of the city council for the filing date. And so that pushed it to be a primary for the three of us, and the top two will go forward. But there's absolutely nothing. You just simply get to vote on your council person. Okay.
And then the movement in terms of potentially shrinking the size of council, that's nothing to do with that, is tomorrow on the ballot.
That's correct.
Okay.
They need to be submitted, and we've gotten a great response.
Okay.
And we're very encouraged that we'll have enough. We look forward to filing it soon. There's a petition for the rezoning. There's a petition for the strong mayor, which is extremely outdated.
Yes.
And there's only one other city in the whole state of Kansas that's like that. It's not democratic as well either, because the mayor has so much power. And then there's the streamline the government, where we are the largest city with council people in the state of Kansas again. But all of these are just to get it on the ballot to vote. It's just to let the people be heard, which is what could be more democratic than that.
So if you get the signatures, that'll be on the ballot some point down the line.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Lori Sharp, she's on the ballot tomorrow running for council in Prairie Village, and of course heavily involved with the Stop Rezoning Prairie Village movement on KCMO. Thank you, Lori, for being here, and good luck tomorrow.
Thanks for your time.
You bet.